every now and then somebody gets in touch who's been involved in a film production of a movie that I've already produced a film study of. And often those people, usually comes in the form of email, and somebody will say, "Oh, I know so and so who worked on such and such a movie, and they've told me A, B, and C about the production." I often get information through in that kind of way, but it's not the most reliable way of getting information. It's secondhand, and sometimes I'm able to verify the information from those emails from other sources. But every now and then somebody gets in touch as well who's actually been involved in a production of one of these movies, and gives me, their own first-hand account. So these kind of instances, they don't happen very often, but they do happen maybe once every 6 months or something like that. And I have had some information in recently about Eyes Wide Shut from a couple of sources who I can't disclose, because it seems that the people who were involved, the general cast and crew involved in that production, it seems that they were mostly signed up to non-disclosure of information. They were probably told not to speak publicly about their experience of working on the production, and that might even be a regular thing with movies and big budget movies in general. That the studios don't want all kinds of stupid rumors being spread around by the cast and the crew and the extras and so on who worked on the movie, and ruining the reputation of the movie if the information they disclose happens to be some sort of be negative in some sort of way. So I have had some information through from sources both directly connected with the Eyes Wide Shut production and indirectly connected. So I've sort of cross-referenced little bits of that information, and I think the information I got through is fairly reliable. Okay, well, I'm satisfied it is anyway. Whether you agree with that is there's nothing I can do about it because I can't disclose the sources. So I'm going to take you through some of this information that I've come across. And a lot of it's basically about the orgy sequence in the movie, or the ritual, how it was prepared, how it was shot, and so on. So I've got a lot of information through about that. First of all, though, and just regarding the context of all that information, I was looking at the number of extras that were involved in the whole Somerton scene, and in some of the wide shots where you get the most people in the crowd, in particular like shots like this one, and the wide shot above when Bill is being harassed by Redcloak and warned, and the girl is up on the balcony, and you get a high shot of the room. There's at least 70 people in that circle around Tom Cruise, and but in the credits of the film, it only lists about 25 extras, and they're called masked party principals. So I assume that means that those were people who were shown very close to the camera at various points, in particular people who engaged in the simulated sex acts and so on. So there's a hell of a lot of people involved in the shooting of those scenes who are not credited. There's a few of them who are named on Internet Movie Database, but only a handful of them. So there's a hell of a lot of people involved there who weren't named. And if you go digging around, speaking with people in the the sort of community of actors and extras and so on, particularly in London, you find that a lot of information gets spread around verbally. People are told, you're not allowed to talk about this movie, sign the contract, you'll keep silence about what goes on in the movie. But people still go and talk to their friends, their family, and so on, their colleagues on other shoots, and the information spreads around. So there ends up being thousands of ways that information can be relayed to people like me, and then across to people like you. So let's have a little sort of go through here. Now, the first one, and I thought this was hilarious, is that I always wondered, how the hell what were the extras told? You're going to come to this mansion, you're going to film this scene. We're going to be filming a secret society ritual with with an actual orgy going on. You know, were they told that in advance of the shoot, or were they told something else? Well, anyway, the information I got through is that it was advertised as a sort of dance routine. I've actually got the phrase here. One quote that I received on this was that it was advertised to the extras as a erotic fantasy movement scene. That's a direct quote, and that basically there was months and months, 6 or 7 months of preparations, rehearsals, but the rehearsals and stuff weren't done with Stanley Kubrick there. They were filmed, and then presumably the footage of the rehearsals was passed on to Kubrick, and he gave instructions back to Leon Vitali, and then Vitali went back. Leon Vitali was his production assistant, and then Leon Vitali would go back, do more rehearsals and relay the instructions from Kubrick and the changes that were needed. And apparently it started off with just general sort of dance type movements and a bit of nakedness and so on, some clothed, some naked, and it was just general sort of dancing. And over the months it gradually became more erotic and eventually led right towards simulated sex acts. So I thought that was quite funny, a kind of way of reeling people in slowly into shooting the scenes without revealing to them in advance that it was going to be an orgy sequence. And something I quite like about that is this is something I've already had in mind before, about the sort of symbols and metaphors and the whole orgy sequence. Is that, I've said before there's a crossover between the Somerton orgy sequence and the Ziegler party. The Somerton is like a representation of the Ziegler party, stripped of all of the politeness, social politeness, and just shown for the raw, what would you call it, the raw hypocrisy that it is. The fact that people go there looking for sex, wanting to do drugs in bathrooms, staring at each other's partners and stuff, and undressing each other with their eyes, and all that kind of thing. Well, the dance thing kind of fits in with that, because if you watch the Ziegler sequence and you look at the creepy guy Sandor Savost, who tries to hit on Bill Harford's wife Alice, when he's dancing with her and they've got these slow rhythmic movements back and forth, it's almost like he's fucking her, And that got me quite interested in the whole sort of ballroom dancing mentality, and the idea that a lot of people in high society, that they put on an act, make out themselves to be really sophisticated and so on. But if you look at the dance routines that those people use, in their little get-togethers, it's kind of sexualized. If you go to a regular nightclub and you're just dancing with people to pop music, people aren't holding hands and thrusting against each other so much. I mean, you will get a little bit, but in a very overtly sexual way. But the kind of dancing that Alice and Sandor do, it's almost like subliminal fucking, and to make that too obvious for those rich people it would bring it too much into consciousness for them. So it's almost like they have a subconscious thing in the dances that they do, that sort of expresses their desire for sexual promiscuity. So you get that with Alice and Sandor, and you do get one shot of it in the Somerton sequence. That's when Nick Nightingale, the piano player, is being led away with the blindfolds on. I can't show it on here because it's got nudity and it'll get the video flagged and so on. But you can easily just go and check the scene for yourself. So I think there's a definite crossover there. And that also, made me find it quite funny that the whole orgy sequence was advertised to the extras as a erotic movement dance scene. What was it? A erotic fantasy movement scene. Yeah. So anyway, that one I found really good. Let's see, what else have we got here? Okay, what kinds of people did we have as extras in the whole Somerton sequence? Well, some of it you can kind of suss out from looking up the names of the people who are listed. In the end credits of the movie, there's about 25 people listed, and just going and googling their names, you can find out what sort of branches of the entertainment industry they come from. There's quite a few of them on there who don't have any other credits for anything that I can find. But I did find about 5 people on the list who have a history as professional dancers of some kind or other. And that's one of the rumours that I've heard about the production, is that a lot of dancers were used in the sequence. I'd also heard rumours that there are porn stars involved in the sequence, and I have verified that 2 of the people who are listed in the credits have a history of working in porn films. They're not, I wouldn't say they're porn stars, but they've done pornography acting. They had experience of that. And maybe Kubrick chose them specifically for the simulated sex acts. I mean, if you're going to get somebody to do that, you might as well get somebody who's actually done a porno, so that they know how to do the movements and make it look really, not really erotic, but for lack of a better word, exploitational. Because the sequence does contain, kind of sex acts that are not necessarily realistic, but they're more sort of the kind of pathological representation of sex acts that you get in porn movies, and you get all the other people stood around watching them as if they're watching a porno. So we've got dancers and porn actors involved, and a lot of models as well, just basic models. And apparently some of the models weren't too happy with the way the sort of all the rehearsals dragged on and on for months and months. They were getting paid and stuff, but they weren't used to working in those kinds of situations where you're spending a hell of a lot of time just working on one sequence. They got models who might go and do a photo shoot and it'll last a day or two, but this was rehearsals that went on for months and months, and then the shooting as well. So yeah, it's one bit of information. And what else have we got here? Apparently the masks were changing all the time during the rehearsals, so it wasn't just a case of the extras being filmed for their performance, it was also testing the masks on camera. And apparently every couple of weeks new masks would be brought in, other ones discarded. Kubrick would give some feedback and say, I don't particularly like that mask, and so on. And he would bring new ones in and test those. Now, something I found a little bit sort of curious is that when you go searching for Venetian masks online, you find a lot of ones that are really, really intricate and very beautiful masks, much more beautiful than the ones that we actually see in the Eyes Wide Shut film. There are some incredible masks out there. And I sort of wondered to myself, why? Why are these masks a little bit more bland than the ones that are out there on the market? And apparently it was because Tom Cruise's mask, which has all the jewels around the eye area, that was considered to be, I was told, quote, the Rolls Royce of masks. And the reason was to make Bill stand out in the whole orgy sequence. He's the main character. He needs to visually stand out and be very recognisable. So he was the one who had all the beads in the masks. And I don't think anybody else has beads in the masks. There might be a little bit, but nothing that has it to the level that his does. And that might be also the reason why a lot of the other masks are a little bit bland compared to what could have been used. Okay? Right, so what else have we got here? Apparently when the sort of scene is shot where these girls in a circle, they throw their cloaks off and they're almost completely naked. They just got the thongs on. And apparently it was decided that all of the other extras in the background, of which there were tons and tons of them, possibly more than 100 if you include all the people who were stood up on the balconies, apparently it was decided to use as few male extras as possible. Um, I wasn't given a very clear description of this, but the impression I was given from the description I was given was that the extras in the backgrounds were also female. And I would assume, and that, based upon my own experience of film shoots as well, if you get very attractive girls on set, you want to minimize the flirting as much as possible. You get people on the cast and the crew and extras who start flirting with the actresses and stuff, and it becomes a bit of a headache at times during the shoot. So I would assume that that was why Kubrick did that, was to minimize the flirting and the annoyance that it causes in trying to set up shots and so on. And possibly also to make the girls more comfortable with being naked in that situation, so they didn't feel like they were being perved on completely by these male extras. Okay? Right. And, this one's no surprise. Apparently, the extras were not briefed about the story of the film. But, that's standard Kubrick territory, that, Even people with speaking parts would often be brought in, and they would only be told the script of their own scene, but not the rest of the story. I mean, anecdotes of that nature go right back to when he filmed Doctor Strangelove. He was even doing it at that stage. Another one here. Apparently, one of the girls, during the shoot, she went and got breast implants, and then Kubrick fired her because he only wanted natural breasts. He didn't want anything that looked, how could you put it, cheap. Yeah. So, what else? Oh, apparently another actress flirted with Cruise a little bit too much and was fired. I'm not sure exactly what scene that was on though. And the last one is apparently Tom Cruise is really, really nice and polite to everybody who was involved in the shoot. He showed up on set, but apparently his sister was there on set, and she was like really militant, adamant. Nobody should talk to Mr. Cruise. Don't look at him and so on. And everyone's like, oh my God, And then Cruise walks in and he's really, really friendly and polite. That's the report that I've heard anyway. So yeah, just some background information there about the shoot of the Somerton ritual orgy sequence. I thought you folks might find this stuff interesting. Some of this stuff will contribute to the film analysis videos that I'm going to be doing on the subject. I'm in the middle of writing the Masks of Eyes Wide Shut. That's probably going to be about a 40-minute video. And I've got some other videos on Eyes Wide Shut that I've got in the pipeline. Before I go as well, I've still got on sale on my site 4 discount sets of digital downloads. So if you've missed out on them, you weren't aware of it, get over to the site, check them out. There's between 50 and 70% off on each of these discount sets. The link will be in the video description below. Okay, bit of a waffle and ramble today. Didn't really plan this, just got a few notes there. Just wanted to throw this out there for you guys because I'm pretty sure a lot of you find it interesting. Okay, I'm Rob Ager. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.